Hello and welcome to the next video in the series introducing HyperFlow AI. In this video, we will prepare a flow graph for production use, publishing it so that it can be used with one of the embeddable chatbots that is available within the HyperFlow system, or be accessed and controlled through the HyperFlow Production App Control API in any custom app or front end you might choose to build. Once published, the flow graphs become part of a versioning and release management regime that allows for controlled pre-release testing, release activation, and a versioning system that supports hot release patches and version updates while the current version is still live in the field. Let's explore all this by preparing the HyperFlow helper chatbot we built in video number 5 for publishing and see how it can be hosted in our embeddable chatbot. Okay, here we are back in the HyperFlow IDE again, and I'll find and open the chatbot. Now, this has both the knowledge database builder subgraph and the helper chatbot, which is the active graph here because it has the start node. As you recall from video number 5, we built the knowledge database this bot is using by importing the HyperFlow documentation subsite, which you can get to from up here. It is primarily a node and API reference at the moment, about 90 pages all up. If you recall, we crawled and imported it with the built-in HyperFlow content import node, extracted bite-sized knowledge segments, and created search indexes and the knowledge database here. The search node down here in the actual helper chatbot is searching that knowledge database to provide domain knowledge to the responding LLM when the helper flow graph is running. So let's give it a quick run in the IDE and developer mode to see that it is still working. Okay, what are pure data nodes? Yep, nodes that supply data to other nodes but are not wired into the process flow and are run on demand. Looking good. You will recall that we can also run it in a test chatbot while in developer mode, like this. Another test question. What is the merge inputs node used for? Good. It allows one input data port to accept input from multiple source outputs. So the intent here is to give you a sense of what the running flow graph would feel like within a typical chatbot interface, while still in developer mode with all the logging and control and debugging tools that brings. What we want to do now is set things up so that this flow graph can run on its own within any number of production chatbot instances as users may need, just like the demo chatbots on our chatbot service site. These. They each run a specific flow graph. You can see them here. This one with a RAG knowledge base extracted from a Galaxy manual PDF file. This one an agentic flow graph using several LLMs to compose a storyline, build appropriate text-to-image prompts, and one to generate the cutscene images. And this one with a RAG knowledge database extracted from a health insurance coverage document. The simplest way to get a production chatbot like this is to deploy an instance of HyperFlow's built-in embeddable chatbot by placing the embed code for the chatbot in a host website page. We'll see what this looks like shortly. You can also build a completely custom app front end and launch flow graphs within it using the HyperFlow Flow Graph Control API, which we'll also review later in this video. The built-in embeddable chatbot uses this same control API internally, and we will provide the full source code for the built-in chatbot so you can reference it if you are building your own custom front ends. Now, in order to make a flow graph runnable within a production application like this, it has to go through the HyperFlow publishing process. We start this by opening the flow graph in the editor, as we have here with the helper chatbot, and pressing the publish button up here. This starts a checking progress, ensuring that all parameters are set and locked and all necessary data flow wires are in place, and so on. You can see it checking each node in the graph here. In our case, it has noticed that some parameters have not been set. Let's fix those now. Okay, trying again. And the pre-published check has successfully completed, and we're asked to confirm publishing. Okay, confirm. This places the flow graph into the HyperFlow production workflow, and so it is now listed in the published flow graphs list in the project management page, to which we have been just redirected. Here it is. While in the production workflow, it can be in one of several states. You see here it starts out in the ready state when first published. Not fully runnable yet, but ready to be activated to allow for that, or perhaps placed in a test mode for final production testing, or one of the other states you can see here, which we'll explore in a bit. If we look back at this flow graph in the editor by clicking its link here, we see it is still in the directory, but is now locked down for edits and developer mode runs. See the published watermark back here and the no edit sign up here. You can, of course, duplicate it to get an unpublished copy if you want, but this copy is now under the control of the production app deployment system and protected from inadvertent edits in this state. Let's check out more of this deployment system back in the project page. Along with the action buttons to change its state, there are these links and code popovers. The external test link can be clicked at any time, though usually when the flow graph is placed in test mode like this, to indicate that it's still being tested. This opens the HyperFlow production app test page and launches the flow graph in the standard HyperFlow test chatbot embedded in that page. The idea here is that you can give out copies of this test link to the stakeholders who have commissioned the app or are in a position to test it prior to full activation in the field. Grab a copy of the test link by clicking here. Using it doesn't require any login to facilitate this kind of broader external testing. Back in the project, the embed code button pops up the embed code for the built-in embeddable chatbot running this published flow graph. You would place code like this in the pages of your site hosting the chatbot. It uses so-called iframe embedding to provide maximum security for your site. Nothing running inside the chatbot iframe can access or interfere with the host page. Note that you can add your own query parameters to the iframe URL, and these are accessible via the launch parameters node in a flow graph, in case you want to pass in a running context to the flow graph, perhaps a user ID or a mode parameter. Another useful node in this context is the message to host node, which lets the flow graph send messages to the hosting page, such as results or a request for the host page to interact with the user in some way. If you are developing a custom AI app and will not use the HyperFlow built-in embeddable chatbot, you will use the HyperFlow Flow Graph Control API to launch and interact with the published flow graph. And the API calls button here shows some example calls. The Control API is a simple JSON-based HTTP API, which at initial beta release does not require a HyperFlow API key, but will at some point before the full release. We'll give you plenty of heads up on this, along with instructions on how to create API keys for your organization. For those pursuing custom apps that will use the Control API, there is initial documentation for it here on the doc site. And if we jump back here to the editor, there is an API call simulator under this button, which launches a copy of the built-in embeddable chatbot running the flow graph on the production Control API. The flow graph needs to pass the pre-publish check to run on the Control API. Here it is checking again. And when it is running, you can see a full log of the Control API interactions to get an in-flight view of the Control API. It is common to run a flow graph about to be published through the simulator to give it a run on the production flow graph engine as an extended test regime, and while you are still able to easily edit the flow graph and make adjustments that might be appropriate. Of course, it may come to pass that you need to update or repair a published flow graph, even one that has been activated and is active in the field. Back in the project page, one of the action button options here is Enter Maintenance. This places the flow graph into a maintenance mode, allowing edits and updates to be made and tested back here in the IDE editor. It is still under the control of the production app deployment system. You can see its watermark here as maintenance. And once you've made and tested the changes, you should republish it up here, which will run through another pre-publishing check on the updates. Note that if the flow graph had been activated and had users interacting with it, putting the flow graph into maintenance mode does not deactivate it. Users can still continue opening and using apps running that flow graph, but they will always see the version as it was prior to entering maintenance mode. And when you republish it, only new launches of the app will see the updates. Existing users can continue to finish their interactions on the prior version. If they refresh the page or start a new chat, the new version will take over. Republishing a flow graph that had not been active will return it to the state it was in prior to entering maintenance mode, such as paused, testing, or ready. And if you really want to stop your users from launching a flow graph, put the flow graph into pause mode. This will prevent future launches, but allow existing interactions to play out and finish. Okay, I think that covers most of the basics of flow graph publishing in the initial beta release. In upcoming releases, we will add a full style editor for the built-in chatbot, allowing you to create chatbot variations in style that you see in the demo chatbots. We will also add plugins for Wix and WordPress and Squarespace and other such website builders, so you won't need any HTML level website skills to deploy your own chatbots. And we'll open source a set of React components that encompass all the control API interactions and basic chatbot UI componentry to facilitate building your own custom chatbots. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.